And welcome back to Nancy's Neighborhood, folks. And I have two great gals in here today to talk to us about what I'm going to call a historic event because I think it is. I have Debbie Moore, who is a teacher.
Yes, at Black Fox in Hopewell.
And she is also a historian and has written several books and has a book concerning the Cherokees that you've done. Mm-hmm. And so she's not talking about her books today. And the other, Tracy Wright, my buddy from Cleveland State. And the reason they're here today is they want to talk to us about the Trail of Tears Educational Symposium that's going to happen at Cleveland State. So, gals, tell us what's happening and tell us what it's about and tell us why it's about and anything you need to share.
Well, I'm the president of the Tennessee Trail of Tears Association, and the National Trail of Tears Association contacted us and wanted us to do a little project to commemorate the 180th anniversary of the removal of the Cherokees from this area.
Deb, you don't do little projects.
I do not do little projects. And so my little project has turned into a main project. But we had decided, in honor of the 180th anniversary of the Trail of Tears removal, which Bradley County was ground zero for that removal.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people who live here don't know that, and a lot of people who don't live here want to know about that also. Mm-hmm. So we decided to do an educational symposium, and we needed a partner. So I contacted Tracy at Cleveland State, and we became partners in this project. Therefore, we are able to offer it free to the public.
And that's awesome. Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. People would pay a good price to go to a symposium like this. And it's going to be held on Friday, April the 13th at Cleveland State in the George R. Johnson, I have that name, auditorium. And also out in the hallways, we're going to have about 15 tables that are people from the area that have information about the Cherokees.
Oh, wow.
We'll be there talking to people, giving them brochures and information. It is indeed an educational symposium.
Hey, that sounds awesome, yes.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to have 3 guest speakers. The very first person I asked was from McMinn County.
My boy.
Yeah, your boy, Sheriff Joe Guy. And I said, pretty sure he's the only guy that we could find that is both a historian and a sheriff, probably in the whole United States.
That's true.
He's an excellent historian,
yes,
and he's going to be telling the story about the murder of Jack Walker. And most folks have seen the sign about Jack Walker. It's almost at the corner of Paul Huff Parkway and Stewart Road, I guess, or right there at the intersection of Key Street. Mm-hmm. And that was his farm prior to the removal, and he was opposed to the removal and was therefore assassinated. But then his murder trial was held in McMinn County, Tennessee, because that was the United States at the time, and this was the Cherokee Nation. Mm-hmm. And so it was probably one of the biggest cases at that time in the United States was going on. And it probably was the final nail in the coffin for the Cherokees in this area. And Joe's going to talk about how that led to the removal and how what role that murder played in the removal.
And I just need to say about Joe, he's special to me because I taught him in 2nd grade. And he loved history then, and he kept on with history ever since. He said he attributes me and Sally Ely, who also taught 7th grade history at Inglewood Elementary, with his love for history. So, and one year the year I had him, we did an American Indian study, and we made God's eyes. Mm-hmm. And Joe told me he still has his God's eye at his sheriff's office. So, love you, Joe Guy. Okay, go ahead, Debbie.
He's wonderful. And then we're very fortunate that we have 2 people that are highly sought after at big national events. Mm-hmm. And I think that they were just so excited that we were going to have something here in Bradley County, the site of the removal, that they agreed to come. And one guy, his name is Brett Riggs, and he is he's over the Department of Cherokee Studies for Western North Carolina University.
Neat. Okay.
And he has done almost all of the archaeological work that has been done at Fort Cass, which is now known as Charleston, Tennessee.
Absolutely, in case people don't know that. Mm-hmm.
Right, in the last 12 months or so, he has found additional sites, and he will be showing us pictures of the artifacts that he's found and he is an absolutely fascinating speaker.
Wow.
And very
Okay.
highly sought after. And I was so tickled when he agreed to come be with us. And then probably our big anchor speaker is Troy Wayne Petit. Troy Wayne lives in Webbers Fall, Oklahoma. His family was removed from this area at probably northern Georgia and this area, and ended up in Webbers Falls. And Webbers Falls, where the river came and there was a waterfall and you had to get off the boat. So that's how they ended up
Okay.
there. But Troy Wayne has been he's been on the Supreme Court, the Cherokee Supreme Court. He just rotated off of there, and he's the executive director for the National Trail of Tears.
Okay.
And he is quite an interesting fella. And when I was talking to him about the symposium, he said, let's do some real education. And I said, well, what would real education be? And as you know, there was a treaty in 1835 that a lot of people were opposed to because the group of chiefs that signed it were not authorized to sign it for the Cherokee Nation. And so there was this big hoo-ha over these people that signed it, and some of them were even murdered. But Troy Wayne is going to tell the story about why the treaty party was a good thing. He
Okay.
says because of the removal, the Cherokees kept their language, their culture, their dances, their all of that kind of stuff. But had they stayed here, they would assimilate it and they would have lost their culture. They would have lost themselves, is what he says. So it might be a bit of a controversial viewpoint, but we decided that when you do an educational symposium, you need to tell the other side of the story.
Absolutely, and that's amazing because most people think how tragic it was for us to remove the Cherokees from here, and yet he says not so.
He says there was a benefit to it.
Okay.
And so it's very interesting. He's a highly sought after speaker, and then he's going to honor us at the end of the day. And he is not going to portray Samuel Houston, but he's going to talk about Samuel Houston living among the Cherokees,
Okay.
which happened right here over at Jolly's Island, which is now known as Hiwassee Island, at the old Blythe Ferry site. And so young Sam Houston was up in Blount County watching the family store, and he got bored when he was about 15, ran away from home, came down here and lived with the Cherokees. He was the only person in American history that was the governor of two different states, Tennessee and Texas, and he was the president of Texas when it was still its own country. And so he was one of the people that he was elected to be like a congressman, and he went to Washington and spoke out against the removal. So he tells Sam Houston's story.
Okay, so he's going to kind of tell both sides of the story.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So it's going to be a really good day, I think.
I think this is awesome, and Tracy, thank you for Cleveland State being willing to host this because this will be free to the public.
Yes.
I mean there'll be
no
no charge for this.
registration. Just come. We're going to open the doors at 9 a.m.
Okay.
I suggest people be there at 9 a.m. You'll have a chance to get signed in, look at all of our booths, and then find you a nice, comfortable seat for the day. We're going to have it's not going to be breakout sessions. It's going to be lectures.
Okay.
So we'll all be in the auditorium. At about 12 o'clock, when our first two speakers get finished, we'll have a lunch on your own. Of course, within 5 minutes of Cleveland State, you can get most anything in the world that you want to eat and get back to the auditorium by 1:20.
And of course, they have the Cougar Cafe there now, so
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
and that's
We're going
and
to
A
Dee is
short
awesome.
walk
So
on a beautiful day like
Absolutely.
today. Just walk over to the Cougar Cafe and grab something. But we're just honored to have the opportunity to partner with the Tennessee Cherokee,
Trail of
Trail
Tears.
of Tears Association and providing this event. Community is a part of our name. It's a part of who we are. And so giving back to our community in such an important way. And of course, we're always about educating folks. And so we just saw this as a perfect opportunity to partner with one of our local community partners and provide an important part of our history to our community.
and I think it's awesome. Now this is going to be Friday, April the 13th. Friday
It's
the
going to be a
13th.
good day.
Yeah, right, it's gonna be a
Good
We're
day.
going to have luck at this
Hope-
particular event.
That's right.
Unless you show up late and don't get a seat.
And
So
that's-
we're
that
saying
is
show
true.
up early.
And so it's from 10 until 3:30. But now, like Debbie says the door's going to open at 9, and she suggests you get there at 9. Now, will the exhibitors be set up at 9?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so
we'll be
you'll
set
have
ready
an
to go.
hour then that you could go see each of these exhibitors, and you said there's going to be about 15?
I think so. Probably 13 to 15.
Okay.
Something else really exciting happening. I thought it would be just really special if we had someone there that could speak Cherokee.
Yes.
And we have a lady, her last name is Rogers. She's coming all the way from Oklahoma, and she's going to do us a Cherokee blessing to start the day. I thought that was really nice. There is another activity over in North Carolina on Wednesday. So she and her son, who is the editor of the Cherokee Phoenix newspaper,
Okay.
are going to that. And then the Cherokee Phoenix newspaper is going to be at our event on Friday to cover it for that national newspaper.
That is so
Isn't
neat.
that exciting?
Absolutely neat. Well, as you're talking about the language, Tracy, don't we have a couple of hymns in the Methodist hymnal that have the Cherokee language
Probably
too?
Amazing
We do.
Grace.
Yeah, Amazing Grace, and I think there's a Christmas carol, but I'm not really sure. But anyway, yes, that have the, I can't
Amazing
pronounce any
Grace
of it,
is
but
absolutely beautiful.
oh, I'm sure it
Cherokee.
is. I'm sure it is. Because that would be what you would recognize the tune to. And so you could, know kind of what's being said. Now, I think this is, to commemorate the 180th anniversary of the Trail of Tears, it's hard to commemorate something that's
It was
not-
a very dark chapter in
Yes.
American history, but we have to talk about
Yes,
it.
we do.
We
Yes, we
do
do.
not need to let people forget that what's happened
Absolutely.
here. And you will notice that Bradley County over the last 10 years, the brown signs that have gone up
Yes.
to tell you where the original trails are. That's the thing that the Tennessee Trail of Tears do. We research, we find the trails, we try to get them marked, and we provide education to
And
the
I think
public.
That's awesome. Yes, absolutely awesome. And this is something that we don't need to forget. It's kind of like the concentration camps during World War II. That doesn't need to be forgotten. These things just do not need to be forgotten.
That's right. People can contact me if they have questions.
Yes.
My email address is Bradley, as in our county, bradleyfolks@aol.com.
Okay, very
and
good.
I'd be glad, and I've been answering lots of questions from people from lots of different states. I think it's going to be an outstanding day.
That sounds great. Now, Tracy, also on the Cleveland State website, will there be a icon
Yes.
that they can go to? So that's
If you go to clevelandstatecc.edu and you can just type in Trail of Tears, or if you scroll down towards the bottom of the page, you'll see a little rotating, smaller carousel, and you'll see it, the same logo that's displayed here on the screen.
Super. And Debbie, tell everybody who this is.
That is Chief George Lowry. He was the right-hand man to Chief John Ross.
Okay.
And John Ross lived here in Bradley County the final couple years before the removal.
Okay. Thank you, gals, for being on today. This has been so informative, and Bryce has such beautiful pictures up for us.
does.
Thank you, Bryce. And so this is April the 13th at Cleveland State at the George R. Johnson Cultural Center. Starting, it's from 10 to 3:30, but be there about 9 o'clock to.
I think so.
There's plenty of parking at Cleveland
Yes.
State. That's not a problem.
And
but-
particularly on Friday, and we'll have directional signage out.
Right, but you want to get there to get a seat because the auditorium seats
400.
400. So do
and I
not
think
be.
it's going to be a packed house.
Yeah, do not be 401 because you may have to stand up for the rest of the day. But ladies, thank you all so much for being on
you
with me
for
today.
having us,
And I
Nancy.
appreciate you leaving me this too so I can remind people about it. And I hope you just have a packed house.
Well, thank you so much for
Thanks.
having
Thank
us.
you. Let's do one last little thing. You have a book about the Cherokees. Your book was
I do. It's the 1836 property evaluations. As part of that 1835 treaty, the U.S. government agreed to come in and assess the Cherokees' property and pay them for it. These were all old handwritten copies, and I typed all 500 of them.
Bless Your Heart.
And I was fortunate. I was asked to present last year at the National Trail of Tears meeting in Oklahoma about Bradley County and Polk County, Monroe, McMinn counties, and Hamilton County were all included in that.
Fantastic. And that's available at the museum.
That is not available
No,
at the
not at the
museum.
museum.
You can pick it up at the Hiwassee Heritage Center
Oh,
in
okay, in
Charleston,
Charleston, okay.
or at the Cleveland Public Library's History Branch.
Okay, super. And again, gals, thank you all so much for being on. It's great to see you all. Now, folks, don't go away. If Bryce tells me I have a few more minutes, I'll be back to tell you some events that are coming up, especially what's happening this weekend. And watch our commercials, support our sponsors because they pay our bills, and I'll be right back.